Hey guys, tonight we slip into the shadows of the Greek underworld, where the air hums with secrets and the ground pulses with stories older than time. Picture yourself standing on a jagged cliff, the wind carrying faint wails from below, where rivers of darkness twist through caverns that never see sunlight. You're about to cross into Hades' realm, a place where mortals don't exactly get a warm welcome. Honestly, you probably won't survive this, but let's roll the dice anyway. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand at the edge of the world, where the earth splits open like a wound, revealing a chasm that swallows light itself. The Greek underworld isn't just a myth, it's a labyrinth of dread and wonder, mapped out by poets like Homer and Hesiod centuries ago. Your first step is downward, where the air grows thick, smelling of damp stone and something faintly metallic, like old coins. The path is narrow, slick with mist, and you hear whispers, soft, insistent, like voices arguing over who gets your soul. The Greeks believed this was the realm of Hades, a god who didn't mess around with mortals' egos. Unlike Zeus, who loved a good lightning show, Hades kept things quiet, ruling over the dead with a stare that could freeze your blood. As you descend, the whispers grow louder, forming words you can't quite catch. It's not your imagination. The ancients thought the dead could speak, especially if you spilled some blood to get their attention. A quirky tidbit: priests in ancient Greece sometimes used ventriloquism to fake ghostly voices during rituals, giving mourners a spooky hotline to the afterlife. Historians still argue whether these priests believed their own tricks or just cashed in on grieving families. Either way, you feel the weight of those voices now, pulling you deeper. The path twists, and you notice carvings on the walls, crude skulls, snakes, and names scratched in ancient Greek. Your torch flickers, casting shadows that dance like they've got plans of their own. You're not alone here. The Greeks saw the underworld as a bureaucracy, not chaos. Souls didn't just wander, they were sorted, judged, and sent to their eternal gigs, some to paradise, others to punishment, most to a gray limbo. You wonder where you'd end up. Probably not the VIP section, right? That's for heroes like Achilles, not folks who forgot to water their plants. Your feet hit a smoother surface now, a stone platform overlooking a river. It's not just any river, it's the Styx, black as ink and twice as ominous. The water doesn't ripple, it slithers, like it's alive and sizing you up. Charon, the ferryman, waits across the bank, his boat creaking under the weight of countless souls he's carried. You fumble for a coin, remembering the old custom. Greeks buried their dead with an obol in their mouths to pay Charon's fare. No coin, no ride, and you'd be stuck wandering the shore forever. Bet you're checking your pockets now, huh? The air grows colder, and you hear a low growl, not from a beast but from the river itself, like it's warning you to turn back. You don't. You can't. Something about this place pulls you forward, like a dream you can't wake from. The whispers are clearer now, chanting names of gods, Hades, Persephone, Hecate. You're not just walking through a myth, you're stepping into a machine, one that's been grinding souls for millennia. And yeah, it's a bit creepy, but isn't that why you're here? To feel that shiver, to wonder what's waiting on the other side of the Styx. You take a step closer to the riverbank, your shoes crunching on pebbles that feel too smooth, like they've been polished by centuries of despair. The mist swirls, and you catch a glimpse of Charon's silhouette, tall, gaunt, eyes like twin voids. He doesn't speak, but you feel his question. Are you ready? Your heart thumps, and you realize this isn't just a story anymore. You're in it, and the underworld doesn't let go easily. So, take a breath, maybe crack a nervous joke to yourself, something about needing a better travel agent, and prepare to meet the ferryman. You stand frozen on the riverbank, the Styx lapping at your feet like it's tasting your courage. The water's black surface doesn't reflect your face, just a shimmer of something ancient, like the river's seen too much to care about you. Across the Styx, Charon waits, his skeletal frame leaning on a pole, his boat swaying gently as if impatient. You've heard the stories. Charon, the ferryman of the dead, doesn't take kindly to freeloaders. You pat your pockets, hoping for that obol, the coin Greeks tucked under tongues of the deceased to secure passage. No coin. Tough luck, you'd be a shade, doomed to wander this shore for a century. Fun fact, archaeologists have found skeletons with coins still clenched in their jaws, proof the Greeks took this fare seriously. You step forward, and the air grows heavier, like wet wool on your skin. The mist swirls, carrying a sour tang, maybe sulfur, maybe despair. Charon's eyes lock onto you, two pits of darkness that make your stomach lurch. You're not sure if he's sizing you up or just bored after ferrying souls for eons. Historians still argue whether Charon was a god or just a grim employee of Hades, stuck in middle management forever. Either way, he's not here to chat. You hold out your hand, and, phew, there's a cold, tarnished coin between your fingers. Where'd it come from? Don't ask. The underworld has its ways. You toss the obol, and Charon catches it midair, his bony fingers moving faster than you'd expect. He doesn't smile, doesn't nod, just tucks the coin into his tattered cloak and gestures to the boat. You climb aboard, the wood creaking like it's groaning under your weight. The boat's small, barely enough room for you and Charon, with a bench slick from mist or maybe something worse. You sit, gripping the edge, and he pushes off, the pole slicing into the sticks with a sound like a sigh. The river moves beneath you, not flowing but slithering, like a snake with somewhere to be. You peer over the side, half expecting to see faces in the water, souls who didn't pay, trapped below. A quirky tidbit pops into your mind. Some Greeks believed the Styx was poisonous, its waters deadly to both body and soul. They even swore oaths on it, like saying, "Cross my heart, hope to die," but way more intense. You lean back, not keen on testing that theory. The boat glides, and you notice carvings on its sides, spirals, eyes, and words in a script you can't read. The air hums with a low drone, like a distant chant, and you wonder if it's the river or the dead, whispering complaints about their commute. You try to crack a joke in your head, something about Charon needing a 5-star Yelp review, but it falls flat. This place doesn't do humor well. The mist thickens, and you can't see the shore anymore, just endless gray and the faint outline of Charon, silent as a tombstone. You shift, and the boat wobbles, making your heart skip. "Easy," you mutter, though Charon doesn't react. You're tempted to ask him something. How's the gig? Seen any famous ghosts lately? But his silent screams don't bother. Instead, you focus on the river. The Greeks believed the Styx circled the underworld 7 times, a boundary even gods respected. You're not sure how long this ride is, but it feels like forever. The water's surface ripples now, and you swear you see shapes, hands, maybe, or eyes, reaching up, then sinking back. The boat slows, and a rocky shore emerges from the mist. You're almost there, wherever there is. Charon points his pole toward the bank, and you catch a glimpse of something massive moving in the distance. 3 heads, maybe, or just shadows playing tricks. Your pulse quickens. You've paid the fare, crossed the Styx, and now the real journey begins. You step off, feet sinking into damp gravel, and Charon's already pushing back into the fog, like you were never here. Typical. You're alone now, or so you think, until a low growl rumbles through the dark. You freeze on the rocky shore, the Styx's oily ripples fading behind you as a growl rolls through the mist like thunder with teeth. The air's thick, pressing against your chest, and it smells of wet fur and something sharper, like iron left to rust. You squint into the gloom, and there it is, Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of Hades, pacing at the gates of the underworld. Each head snarls, eyes glowing like embers, and you're pretty sure one of them just licked its chops. You're not exactly on the guest list, and Cerberus looks like he flunked charm school. Your odds of surviving this? Let's just say you'd have better luck arm wrestling a minotaur. The gates loom ahead, massive slabs of black stone carved with skulls and snakes, their edges worn smooth by centuries of desperate hands. You take a cautious step, and Cerberus snaps all 6 eyes your way, tails lashing like whips. Greek poets like Virgil described this beast as a guardian who never sleeps, ensuring no living soul sneaks in and no dead one slips out. You're neither fully alive nor dead here, so you're banking on that loophole. A quirky tidbit: some ancient Greeks tossed honey cakes to appease Cerberus during burial rites, hoping he'd be too busy snacking to chomp their souls. Got any pastries on you? Didn't think so. You edge closer, heart hammering like it's trying to escape your ribs. The gates creak, not from wind but from something alive in the stone, like the underworld itself is breathing. Historians still argue whether Cerberus was one creature or a symbol of death's many faces. Fear, pain, and inevitability, maybe. Whatever he is, he's real enough now, drool pooling at his paws, each head tracking you like your dinner. You try to stay calm, whispering to yourself, "Nice doggy, just here for the tour." One head snorts, like it's heard that one before. You notice a path veering left, barely visible, lined with bones that crunch underfoot. Probably not a 5-star trail, but it beats being Cerberus' chew toy. You sidestep, keeping your eyes on him, and notice his middle head tilting, curious rather than hungry. Maybe he's bored. Eons of guard duty will do that. You hum softly, remembering that music, so the myths say, once tamed this beast. Orpheus charmed him with a lyre, but your off-key humming probably won't cut it. Still, it's worth a shot. The growling softens, just a bit. The gates are closer now, towering over you like a bad decision. You see chains draped across them, rusted but unbreakable, and a faint glow pulses from the other side, like firelight trapped in fog. You're tempted to bolt, but running's not an option. Cerberus looks like he'd enjoy the chase. Instead, you inch forward, hands raised, muttering something about being a friend of Hades. Total bluff, but you're committed now. The leftmost head yawns, showing teeth the size of daggers, and you can't help but think of your dentist back home. Bet she'd faint seeing those chompers. You're almost at the gates when Cerberus shifts, all 3 heads lowering, sniffing the air. You freeze, expecting the worst, but he just huffs and flops down, kicking up dust. Maybe he's off the clock. You slip through a gap in the gates, the stone cold against your skin, and feel a rush of air, like the underworld's exhaling in relief. Beyond the gates, darkness swallows everything, but you hear faint whispers again, like the ones from the cliff. They're louder now, urging you deeper. You glance back, and Cerberus is watching, one head scratching an ear with a massive paw. You almost laugh, almost, because this place doesn't exactly scream comedy. The path ahead slopes down, and you feel the weight of the underworld pressing in, like it's daring you to keep going. You do, because turning back means facing those jaws again, and you're not that curious. The gates groan shut behind you, sealing you in. Ready or not, you're officially in Hades' house now. You step beyond the gates, and the world turns to ink. Erebus, the primal darkness, wraps around you like a cloak you didn't ask to wear. The air's so thick it feels like you're breathing shadows, each inhale heavy with the scent of damp earth and forgotten promises. Your torch sputters, its flame shrinking to a pathetic flicker, as if Erebus is personally offended by light. You can't see your own hands, but you feel the ground beneath you. Cold, uneven, like it's waiting for you to trip. This is the void where even gods tread lightly, and you're just a mortal, stumbling through like you forgot the map. Spoiler, you probably won't survive this darkness, but let's keep moving anyway. The Greeks saw Erebus as more than a place. It was a deity, born from chaos itself, older than Hades and his moody throne. Hesiod wrote that Erebus was the personification of deep shadow, the kind that doesn't just hide things but swallows them whole. You shuffle forward, arms outstretched, and your fingers brush something. Stone, maybe, or bone. It's hard to tell when everything feels like a bad omen. A quirky tidbit: some ancient cults believed Erebus whispered secrets to those brave enough to listen, but only if you offered something precious, like your courage or a really good goat. You're fresh out of goats, so you keep walking. The darkness presses closer, and you hear your own heartbeat, loud as a drum in this endless night. Historians still argue whether Erebus was a physical place or just a metaphor for death's uncertainty. Maybe it's both, because right now, it feels like the world's holding its breath, waiting for you to make a wrong move. You try to lighten the mood, muttering, "Great, I signed up for a haunted house, not a blackout." No one laughs, not even you, but it keeps your knees from buckling. Your foot catches on something soft, moss, you hope, and you steady yourself against a wall that pulses faintly, like it's alive. The whispers from the cliff are back, slithering through the dark, saying things like, "Turn back," or "You're already lost." You ignore them, mostly because you're stubborn, but also because there's no back to turn to. The gates are gone, swallowed by Erebus Vale. You remember that honey cake trick from Cerberus, wish you'd saved one for this place. Maybe it had bribed the shadows to chill out. A faint sound cuts through the silence, like water dripping, or maybe claws scratching stone. You freeze, wondering if Erebus has its own guard dog, something worse than Cerberus. The Greeks believed this darkness hid Nyx, the night goddess, who even Zeus feared. You're not sure if she's real, but you're not keen on meeting her. You hum again, that same off-key tune from the gates, hoping it's some universal underworld pacifier. The scratching stops, but now there's a breeze, cold and sharp, like it's carrying a warning. You keep moving, one hand trailing the wall, which is now slick with something you don't want to identify. The darkness shifts, not lighter but thinner, like a curtain parting just enough to tease what's ahead. You catch a glimpse of gray fields in the distance, maybe Asphodel, where lost souls wander. Your torch flickers brighter, and you see carvings again. Eyes, always eyes, watching from the stone. You joke to yourself, this place needs an interior decorator, stat. It's weak, but it keeps you grounded. The path slopes downward, and the air changes, less oppressive but still heavy, like a storm's coming. You're out of Erebus' heart now, but you feel it lingering, like it's memorizing your scent. The whispers fade, replaced by a low hum, like a crowd murmuring just out of sight. You're not alone here, and that's not as comforting as it sounds. You take a deep breath, tasting dust and regret, and step toward the gray light ahead, ready, or not, for whatever this underworld throws at you next. You step into the gray haze of Asphodel's meadows, where the air feels like a sigh that never ends. The ground is soft, carpeted with pale grass that crunches faintly underfoot, like it's forgotten how to grow. Shadows drift around you, souls, not quite people anymore, their forms blurry like smudged charcoal sketches. They don't look at you, just shuffle through the mist, murmuring in languages you half recognize. This is the Asphodel Meadows, the underworld's middle ground, where the neither good nor evil spend eternity in a kind of cosmic waiting room. It's not torture, but it's not a party either. Imagine an endless DMV line, and you're not far off. Your chances of enjoying this? Slim, unless you're into eternal monotony. The Greeks believed most souls ended up here, ordinary folks who didn't slay monsters or offend gods. Plato wrote that Asphodel was for those who lived unremarkable lives, neither heroic nor villainous, just trudging through. You weave between the shades, their eyes hollow, like they've forgotten what sunlight feels like. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks thought Asphodel's grass was edible, and souls nibbled it to stay alive, a grim vegan diet, basically. You glance at the grass, tempted to try it, then decide you're not that hungry. Historians still argue whether Asphodel was a punishment or just a neutral zone, a place to exist without purpose. The mist swirls, carrying a faint floral scent, like flowers left too long in a vase. You notice the shades don't walk so much as glide, their feet barely touching the ground. One brushes past you, and it's like a cold draft with a face. You mutter, "Excuse you," but it doesn't react, rude, even for a ghost. You keep moving, following a path that's more suggestion than road, marked by patches of wilted asphodel flowers, their petals gray as ash. The air hums with a low drone, like a lullaby sung by someone who's given up. You spot a figure sharper than the others, an old woman with a face like crumpled parchment. She's muttering, clutching a broken lyre, and you wonder if she's a poet or just someone who got a raw deal. You nod at her, half expecting a response, but she just stares through you, like you're the ghost. You try a joke to ease the tension. What? No welcome committee? Nothing. Tough crowd. The Greeks used to pour libations, wine, milk, honey, to comfort these souls, believing they craved connection to the living. You've got no wine, but you feel a pang of pity anyway. The path widens, and you see a river in the distance. Not Styx, but Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Its waters shimmer, not black but silver, like liquid moonlight. One sip, and you'd forget everything. Your name, your life, that time you tripped in front of everyone. Tempting, but you keep your distance. The shades don't. Some kneel at the bank, drinking deep, their faces softening as memories slip away. You shudder, wondering if oblivion's a gift or a curse. The Greeks debated that too, with some saying Lethe was mercy, others calling it erasure. You skirt the river, noticing how the grass grows sparser, like it's tired of trying. The air's heavier now, and you feel eyes on you. Not the shades, but something else, hidden in the mist. You remember Charon's stare, Cerberus' growl, and wonder what's next on this underworld hit list. A faint glow flickers ahead, warmer than asphodel's gray, and you hear music, or maybe it's just the wind playing tricks. You're drawn to it, like a moth to a flame, even though you know better. This place is getting under your skin, but you keep walking, because stopping feels like admitting defeat. You follow the faint glow, leaving asphodel's dreary meadows behind, and step into a place that feels like a dream you didn't sign up for. The air shifts, warmer now, with a sweet scent like ripe figs and sun-baked earth. The mist parts, revealing Elysium, the underworld's VIP section, where golden light spills across rolling fields dotted with blooming poppies and shimmering streams. It's beautiful, almost too perfect, like a postcard from a place you can't afford. Heroes and the blessed hang out here, sipping eternal sunshine, while you're just a tourist with no reservation. Survive this? Probably, but only if you don't get too cozy and forget to leave. Elysium was the Greeks' idea of paradise, reserved for those who impressed the gods. Think Achilles, or that one guy who wrestled a lion and got a statue. Homer described it as a land of endless spring, where the breeze is always cool and the fruit never falls. You walk a path of soft grass, each step sinking like you're on a cloud, and see figures lounging under laurel trees, their laughter like music you can't quite join. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed Elysium's residents could reincarnate if they got bored of paradise. Talk about a mid-eternity crisis. You spot a warrior sharpening a spear that'll never be used, and wonder if he's itching for a comeback. The light dances on your skin, and you feel lighter, like the underworld's weight is lifting. But there's a catch: Elysium's glow makes you want to stay, forever. You shake it off, muttering, "Nice try, but I've got laundry to do." The figures don't notice you, too busy with their endless picnic. One strums a lyre, another pours wine that smells like summer. You're tempted to grab a glass, but you remember Lethe's silver waters and keep your hands to yourself. Historians still argue whether Elysium was a physical place or just a hope, a carrot dangled to make mortals behave. You pass a marble fountain, its water sparkling like it's laced with starlight. You dip a finger, expecting a chill, but it's warm, like a bath you never want to leave. A woman in a flowing chiton glides by, her eyes bright with memories of battles won. She doesn't speak, but her smile says, "You don't belong here." Fair enough. You're not exactly hero material, unless surviving a bad Wi-Fi signal counts. The path curves, and you see a hill crowned with a massive tree, its branches heavy with golden apples. Tempting, but you've read enough myths to know better than to snack in the underworld. The air hums with a soft melody, not Orpheus level, but enough to make your shoulders relax. You notice the figures here aren't like asphodel shades, they're solid, vibrant, like they've cheated death's fade. You wonder what it takes to earn a spot here. Probably more than your current resume of pretty good at parallel parking. The Greeks believed the gods hand-picked Elysium's guests, but some stories hint at secret trials, tests of virtue or courage. You glance around, half expecting a pop quiz from Zeus. The glow dims slightly as the path slopes downward, and you feel a tug, like Elysium's trying to keep you. You resist, because paradise or not, this isn't your stop. The air cools, and you hear a distant rumble, like thunder trapped underground. The golden fields fade behind you, replaced by jagged rocks and a faint, ominous red glow. You remember Tartarus, the abyss where the worst of the worst are chained, and your stomach twists. Elysium's beauty was a nice break, but the underworld's got darker corners, and you're headed straight for one. You leave Elysium's golden glow behind, and the air turns sharp, like a blade pressed against your skin. The path dips steeply, and you're descending into a chasm where the light doesn't dare follow. This is Tartarus, the underworld's deep end, a pit so dark it makes Erebus feel like a sunny afternoon. The ground is jagged, all sharp rocks and ash, and the air smells of sulfur and something worse, regret, maybe, or fear boiled down to its essence. You hear faint screams, not loud but constant, like a radio stuck between stations. Tartarus isn't for tourists, it's where the titans, those god-sized troublemakers, are chained for eternity. Survive this? Doubtful, unless you've got a divine get-out-of-jail-free card. The Greeks saw Tartarus as a prison, not just for titans but for anyone who really ticked off the gods. Hesiod wrote it was as far below the earth as the sky is above, a place where even Zeus hesitated to linger. You stumble over a rock, catching yourself on a wall that's hot to the touch, like it's been baking in some unholy oven. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed Tartarus had its own weather, storms of fire and ash that tormented the damned. You feel a gust now, stinging your face with tiny embers, and you're not sure if it's real or your mind playing tricks. The path narrows, and you see chains glinting in the faint red glow. Massive, thick as tree trunks, bolted into the rock. You hear a groan, deep and bone-rattling, and spot a shape in the distance. A titan, maybe Cronus himself, slumped against his bonds. His eyes, big as boulders, flicker toward you, and you freeze, feeling like a bug under a magnifying glass. You mutter, just passing through, big guy, hoping it sounds braver than it feels. No response, but the air vibrates with his resentment. Historians still argue whether the Titans were real deities or just metaphors for chaos tamed by order. You keep moving, because standing still feels like inviting trouble. The chains clank, not from wind but from something shifting in the dark. Maybe another Titan, or something worse. You remember stories of Tantalus, doomed to stand in water he can't drink, fruit he can't reach. You don't see him, but you feel his hunger, like it's seeping into the air. You check your own thirst, suddenly aware of how dry your throat is. No water here though, just ash and heat. You try a joke to steady yourself, bet the Titans wish they'd unionized. It falls flat, but it keeps your feet moving. The path twists, and you notice carvings on the walls, crude, angry images of gods battling giants, their faces frozen in rage. The red glow pulses, like a heartbeat, and you wonder if Tartarus is alive, a beast that feeds on suffering. The Greeks believed it was guarded by the centimanes, hundred-handed monsters who'd make Cerberus look cuddly. You don't see them, but you feel watched, like eyes are tracking you from the shadows. You hum that tune from the gates, half hoping it's a universal underworld password, but the air just grows heavier. A scream cuts through the dark, sharper now, and you glimpse a figure writhing against chains, too far to make out details. You don't want to know, but you can't help wondering, what did they do to end up here? The path slopes upward slightly, and the screams fade, replaced by a low rumble, like the earth's grinding its teeth. You're not out of Tartarus yet, but you sense a shift, like you're nearing its edge. The air's still hot, the chains still glint, but there's a faint whisper now, not of pain but of something colder, more regal. You're getting closer to the boss of this place, and you're not sure you're ready for that meeting. You climb out of Tartarus' suffocating heat, and the air shifts to a cold that bites deeper than the ash ever did. The path levels, opening into a vast chamber where shadows cling like damp cloth. At its center sits a throne of black stone, polished to a sheen that reflects nothing. No light, no you. Hades himself lounges there, his presence heavy as the underworld itself. His eyes, dark as the Styx, pin you in place, and his lips curl into something that's not quite a smile. You're in the heart of his domain now, face to face with the god of the dead, and let's be real. You probably won't survive this stare-down, unless you've got a divine PowerPoint to plead your case. Hades isn't the devil of Greek myth. He's a bureaucrat with a crown, running the underworld like a grim CEO. The poet Homer called him unyielding, a god who doesn't negotiate, yet here he is, watching you like you're a puzzle he hasn't decided to solve. You notice his helm, the one that makes him invisible, resting on the throne's arm. A quirky tidbit. Some Greeks believed Hades lent that helm to Perseus to slay Medusa, like he was running a divine Airbnb for magical gear. You wonder if he'd let you borrow it, but his gaze says, "Don't even try." The chamber's walls are carved with scenes of judgment, souls weighed, fates sealed. The air smells of cold stone and something faintly sweet, like overripe fruit. You take a step, and the floor echoes, too loud for your small feet. Hades leans forward, his voice low, like gravel sliding down a cliff. "Why are you here?" he asks, and you feel it in your bones. You mumble something about being lost, hoping it sounds less pathetic than it feels. He doesn't laugh, but you swear his eyes flicker with amusement. You try a joke, "Nice place, but the lighting's a bit dead." "Nothing. Tough crowd." You glance around, noticing braziers burning with green flames that give no warmth. The Greeks believed Hades ruled with absolute authority, sorting souls with a fairness Zeus never bothered with. Historians still argue whether he was feared or respected. Some say he was just misunderstood, the quiet sibling stuck with the worst real estate. You feel a pang of sympathy, then remember he could probably snap you out of existence. You keep your distance, circling the throne, and notice a pomegranate on a nearby table, its seeds glistening like rubies. You know better than to touch it. "Thanks, Persephone, for the heads up." The whispers from earlier are back, swirling around Hades like a choir of ghosts. They're not angry, just insistent, chanting names or maybe warnings. You catch a glimpse of movement behind the throne, a shadow that's too solid, too graceful. "Persephone." "Not yet." You focus on Hades, who's still watching, his fingers tapping the throne like he's bored but dangerous. You remember Cerberus, the Titans, and wonder what it takes to run this place without losing it. Probably a lot of coffee, if gods even drink that. You shift, and the air grows colder, like Hades is flexing his power just to mess with you. You hum that tune from the gates, half hoping it's a charm, but he raises an eyebrow, unimpressed. The chamber feels smaller now, like it's closing in, and you realize you're not here to chat, you're being judged. You try to stand taller, but your knees wobble, and you wonder what he sees in you. A hero. A fool. Probably the latter. The path behind the throne beckons, leading somewhere new, but Hades' gaze holds you. You're not sure if you're free to go, or if he's just toying with you before the real fun begins. You slip past Hades' throne, his gaze lingering like a weight on your back, and step into a corridor where the air softens, carrying a faint scent of spring, blossoms, dew, something alive in this dead place. The walls glow faintly, not with fire but with a pale light, like moonlight trapped in stone. You're in Persephone's domain now, or at least her corner of the underworld, where she balances her life as queen of the dead and goddess of spring. Her story hangs in the air, heavy as the pomegranate seeds that bound her here. You feel her presence, like a melody you can't quite hum, and you're pretty sure meeting her won't be a picnic. Survive it? Maybe, if you don't mention her mom. Persephone's myth is the Greeks' way of explaining seasons. 6 months below with Hades, 6 months above with Demeter, all because of those cursed seeds. The Homeric hymn to Demeter tells it straight. She was abducted, tricked, and now splits her year like a divine timeshare. You walk deeper, and the corridor opens into a garden, an impossible burst of green in the underworld's gray. Roses climb obsidian pillars, and a stream bubbles, its water clear as glass. You're tempted to dip your toes, but you remember Lethe and keep your feet dry. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks swore Persephone's tears watered these flowers, making them bloom where nothing should. You spot a wilting rose and wonder if she's crying now. The air hums with a soft warmth, and you see her, a figure in a flowing gown, half shadow, half sunlight, weaving through the garden. Her eyes catch yours, sharp as thorns, and you feel like you've interrupted something private. You mutter, "Nice garden," hoping it breaks the ice, but she just tilts her head, like she's deciding whether you're worth her time. You try a joke, "Bet you're the only one who gets a tan down here." Her lips twitch, but it's not a smile, more like she's humoring you. Historians still argue whether Persephone was a victim or a willing queen, mastering her role in Hades' court. You follow her, keeping a respectful distance, as she tends a patch of lilies, her fingers brushing their petals like their old friends. The Greeks believed she brought life to the underworld, a spark of renewal in a place of endings. You notice pomegranates hanging from a tree, their skins split, seeds glinting like tiny warnings. You steer clear, remembering how one bite changed her fate. The air shifts, cooler now, and you hear whispers again, not the angry ones from Tartarus, but softer, like they're gossiping about you. You glance at Persephone, wondering if she's the source, but she's focused on her flowers, ignoring you entirely. The garden feels alive, almost too alive, like it's watching you back. You pass a statue of a girl holding a torch, her face eerily like Persephone's, and wonder if it's a tribute or a reminder of who she used to be. You hum that tune from the gates, hoping it's still got some magic, but the flowers just sway, unimpressed. You're not sure if you're a guest here or an intruder, but Persephone's presence is a puzzle, half welcoming, half warning. You try another joke, "Do you ever get tired of the commute?" She doesn't answer, but a breeze carries her scent, earth and bloom, and you feel a pull, like she's inviting you to stay. The path curves, leading away from the garden, and you sense you're not meant to linger. Persephone glances back, her eyes saying keep moving without a word. The light dims, and the air grows heavier, hinting at something sterner ahead. You remember Hades' cold stare and wonder if he's waiting, or if Persephone's the real power here. The whispers fade, replaced by a faint clink, like scales tipping. You're heading toward judgment now, and the underworld's not done with you yet. You leave Persephone's garden behind, the scent of lilies fading as the air turns sharp and metallic, like a courtroom before a verdict. The path opens into a vast hall, its ceiling lost in shadows, where three figures sit on thrones of gray marble: Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus, the judges of the dead. Their eyes bore into you, unblinking, like they're peeling back your soul layer by layer. Scales and scrolls are scattered around, and the air hums with the weight of decisions that echo forever. You're standing before the tribunal that sorts souls to Elysium, Asphodel, or Tartarus, and let's be honest, you probably won't survive their scrutiny unless your life's highlight reel is Oscar-worthy. The Greeks believed these judges were once mortal kings, hand-picked by Zeus for their fairness, as told in Plato's dialogues. Minos, the head honcho, holds a golden scepter, his gaze sharp enough to cut stone. You feel like you're on trial for forgetting to return a library book. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks thought Minos judged souls by sniffing them, catching the scent of their deeds. Hope you're not reeking of bad choices today. You shuffle forward, trying to look innocent, but your sneakers squeak on the polished floor, drawing their stares. You mutter, "Just here for the vibes," and immediately regret it. Minos' eyebrow twitches, not a fan. The hall's walls are etched with names, thousands of them, glowing faintly when a soul's fate is sealed. You see a shade approach, its form flickering like a bad signal. Rhadamanthus leans forward, whispering questions only the soul can hear, and it trembles, spilling secrets you can't catch. The scales tip, and the shade vanishes. Asphodel, maybe? You're not sure, but the process is relentless, like a cosmic DMV with no coffee breaks. Historians still argue whether the judges were infallible or just glorified accountants, tallying sins with no room for nuance. You step closer, and Aeacus points at you, his finger bony as a twig. Your stomach lurches. Nobody warned you about a pop quiz. You try to recall your good deeds, but all you can think of is that time you let someone cut in line at the grocery store. Hardly hero material. You hum that old tune from the gates, hoping it's a get-out-of-judgment-free card, but Minos just taps his scepter, impatient. You try a joke. Do I get points for not jaywalking? Silence. These guys make Hades look like a stand-up comedian. The air crackles as another soul is judged, its wail fading as it's sent somewhere. Elysium's glow or Tartarus scream, you can't tell. You notice a scroll on the floor, half unrolled, with names crossed out in red ink that looks too much like blood. You wonder what yours would say. The Greeks believed judgment was final, no appeals, no do-overs. You feel the weight of every choice you've ever made, like a backpack stuffed with rocks. Minos' eyes narrow, and you swear he's reading your thoughts. Probably not impressed with that time you borrowed a pen. The hall feels smaller now, the judge's presence pressing in like a storm cloud. You notice a door behind them, barely visible, leading deeper into the underworld. You're not sure if you're meant to walk through or wait for a verdict. The whispers from earlier are back, chanting something about justice, or maybe it's just your nerves. You take a step, hoping to slip past, but Rhadamanthus' voice stops you cold. Not yet. Your heart skips, and you wonder if you're about to be sentenced or just stuck in eternal limbo. The door beckons, but the judge's stares hold you, and you know the underworld's not done weighing your soul. You slip past the judge's hall, their stares lingering like a bad aftertaste, and the path twists into a rocky tunnel where the air smells of dust and desperation. The ground slopes upward, littered with pebbles that skitter underfoot, and you hear a rhythmic grunt, like someone's pushing a boulder up an endless hill. You round a bend, and there he is, Sisyphus, the guy who cheated death twice and got a one-way ticket to eternal cardio. His muscles strain, his face set in a grimace, as he shoves a massive boulder that's got no business rolling anywhere. You're watching a myth in real time, and let's be real, surviving this place is starting to feel like your own uphill battle. Sisyphus' story is a Greek cautionary tale. He tricked Hades, chained death itself, and thought he'd outsmart the gods. Spoiler: nobody outsmarts Zeus. Homer and others say he's doomed to push this rock forever, never reaching the top. You watch him heave, sweat beading on his brow, and the boulder slips back, crashing down with a thud that shakes your bones. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed his punishment wasn't just physical. His mind replayed every bad decision, like an eternal blooper reel. You wince, wondering what your own highlight reel would look like. Probably too many late-night snack runs. The tunnel's walls are scratched, like Sisyphus clawed at them in frustration. You step closer, and he glances your way, his eyes sharp with defiance despite the exhaustion. You mutter, "Rough day, huh?" hoping to lighten the mood, but he just grunts and shoves the boulder again. You try a joke, "Bet you've got the best quads in the underworld." Nothing. He's too focused, or maybe he's heard it all before. Historians still argue whether Sisyphus' punishment was about hubris or just the gods flexing their power. Either way, it's a raw deal. You circle the boulder, noticing its surface etched with faint symbols. Curses, maybe, or prayers he'll never finish. The air's heavy, thick with the scent of stone and sweat, and you feel a pang of pity. You're tempted to help, but you remember the rules. Interfere in the underworld, and you're asking for your own eternal shift. The Greeks believed punishments like his were warnings. Step out of line, and you're pushing rocks forever. You hum that tune from the gates, hoping it calms the vibe, but the boulder's rumble drowns it out. The path winds around Sisyphus Hill, and you notice other shapes in the distance. More sinners, maybe, each trapped in their own loop. You hear a faint wail, not Sisyphus, but someone else, maybe Tantalus or Ixion, their stories blending into this grim playlist. You keep moving, because lingering feels like inviting trouble. The tunnel narrows, and the air grows cooler, like you're leaving punishment behind for something new. You glance back, and Sisyphus is still pushing, his face set in that same stubborn scowl. You almost admire him. Almost. The ground levels out, and you see a faint light ahead, not Elysium's glow but something softer, like a melody you can't place. You remember Orpheus, the guy who nearly cheated Hades with a song, and wonder if you're headed his way. The whispers from earlier are back, quieter now, chanting something about loss or love. You're not sure what's next, but the underworld's got a knack for surprises, and you're starting to think every step is a test. You take a deep breath, tasting dust and determination, and keep walking, because stopping feels like letting Sisyphus win. You leave Sisyphus' endless struggle behind, the boulders rumble fading as the tunnel opens into a cavern where the air hums with a faint, haunting melody. It's not the wind, it's music, raw and aching, like a heart breaking in slow motion. You follow the sound, your steps soft on a floor of polished obsidian, and see him, Orpheus, the poet whose lyre could charm stones, sitting on a jagged rock, his fingers plucking strings that shimmer like starlight. His voice weaves through the notes, a song of loss that makes your chest tighten. You're in his corner of the underworld now, and surviving this means not getting lost in his grief. Good luck with that. Orpheus' tale is Greek tragedy at its finest. He ventured here to save his wife, Eurydice, but looked back too soon, losing her forever. The poet Pindar sang of his music taming even Cerberus, but it couldn't beat Hades' rules. You watch Orpheus, his head bowed, eyes fixed on nothing, like he's still seeing her vanish. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed his lyre was enchanted by Apollo, giving it power to bend reality itself. Handy, until it wasn't. You step closer, and the music wraps around you, tugging at memories you didn't know you had. You mutter, "Nice tune," but your voice cracks, and Orpheus doesn't even blink. The cavern's walls shimmer, reflecting his song in fractured glints, like a broken mirror. The air smells of salt, maybe tears, maybe the sticks leaking through. Historians still argue whether Orpheus' story was about love or hubris. Did he defy death for Eurydice, or to prove he could? You feel the weight of his failure, heavy as the chains in Tartarus. You try a joke to shake it off, bet you're the underworld's top streaming artist. Nothing. His fingers keep moving, the melody sharper now, cutting deeper. You're tempted to sit and listen forever, but that's a trap. You've got places to be. You notice a path winding past him, leading to a faint red glow. Not Tartarus fire but something new, ominous. The music follows you, each note a plea to stay, and you hum your own tune, that old one from the gates, to keep your head clear. Orpheus' song doesn't stop, but it softens, like he's giving you permission to go. You glance back, and he's still playing, his shadow stretching long across the cavern, like it's reaching for something he'll never touch. The Greeks believed his music lingered even after his death, echoing through the underworld's bones. You feel it now, vibrating in your ribs. The air shifts, heavier, and you hear whispers again, not Orpheus' voice, but something darker, like secrets being traded in the shadows. You remember Hades' stare, Persephone's garden, and wonder if they're tied to what's coming. The path slopes downward, and the melody fades, replaced by a low hum, like the underworld's pulse. You spot carvings on the walls, lyres, hearts, a woman's face, maybe Eurydice's. You try another joke, hope you've got a good lawyer for that contract with Hades. The silence answers, and you keep moving, because lingering feels like signing up for Orpheus' fate. The red glow brightens, and the whispers grow clearer, chanting words like end and unravel. You're not sure if it's the underworld talking or your own nerves, but something's stirring, something bigger than one poet's heartbreak. The path narrows, and you feel a pull, like the underworld's daring you to uncover its secrets. You take a breath, tasting dust and longing, and step toward the glow, ready, or not, for whatever's waiting. Orpheus' song lingers, a reminder that even beauty down here comes with a price. You step away from Orpheus' haunting melody, the notes fading like a dream you can't hold on to, and the path plunges into a corridor where the air grows thick with a strange, electric hum. The walls pulse faintly, etched with jagged symbols that look like warnings scrawled in a hurry. Cracks, flames, a sky splitting open. You're stumbling into whispers of the apocalypse, prophecies the Greeks whispered about when they thought the gods weren't listening. The air smells of ozone and ash, like a storm's brewing underground, and you feel a shiver, like the underworld itself is nervous. Surviving this? Probably not, unless you've got a knack for dodging cosmic disasters. The Greeks didn't have a single end-of-the-world story, but scattered texts, like those from the Orphic cults, hinted at an unraveling of order, where even Hades' realm could crack. You trace a symbol on the wall, a circle split by a lightning bolt, and it's warm, like it's alive. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed the underworld held a hidden map, a prophecy etched in stone that predicted when the gods' rule would falter. You're not sure if this is it, but the symbols pulse faster as you touch them, like they're waking up. Historians still argue whether these prophecies were literal or just poetic metaphors for chaos. The corridor narrows, and you hear a low chant, not the whispers from before but something deeper, like voices from the earth's core. You catch words, end asterisk, fall, release, and your pulse quickens. You try to stay calm, muttering, just another Tuesday in the underworld, right? But the joke feels hollow when the ground trembles faintly, like a warning shot. You keep moving, because standing still feels like agreeing to whatever's coming. The symbols glow now, casting a sickly light, and you see one that looks like a chained figure breaking free. Maybe a titan, maybe something worse. You round a bend, and the corridor opens into a chamber where the air crackles, like static before a lightning strike. A stone slab sits at the center, carved with a prophecy, words about a final dusk, when the rivers run dry and the gates of Hades split. You're no scholar, but this doesn't sound like a beach vacation. You hum that tune from the gates, hoping it's still got some magic, but the chant drowns it out, growing louder, angrier. You try another joke, hope this apocalypse comes with a refund policy. The air doesn't laugh, but it feels heavier, like it's judging you. The Greeks believed the gods could fall, their power tied to mortal worship. If belief faded, so did they. You wonder if that's what this prophecy means, a world where even Hades loses his throne. The slab's edges are worn, like countless hands have touched it, seeking answers or begging for mercy. You notice a shadow moving across the wall, not yours, too tall and jagged, like it's got wings or claws. You spin, but nothing's there. Just the chant, now a roar in your ears. You're starting to think this place doesn't just hold souls, it holds secrets the gods want buried. The path leads out of the chamber, sloping downward again, and you feel a pull, like the underworld's daring you to dig deeper. The whispers are back, mingling with the chant, and you catch Persephone's name, then Hades, then something about a breaking. You remember Sisyphus' defiance, Orpheus' loss, and wonder if they're tied to this. The air grows colder, the symbols dim, but the hum doesn't stop, vibrating in your bones. You take a breath, tasting ash and something bitter, like fear, and step forward, because turning back feels like admitting the end is already here. You step out of the prophecy chamber, the apocalyptic chant still buzzing in your ears like a warning you can't unhear. The path twists into Erebus again, that primal darkness you thought you'd escaped, but this time it feels different. Less like a void and more like a mind, alive with secrets. The air is heavy, thick with a metallic tang, and the walls shimmer with faint, jagged lines, like cracks in reality itself. You're back in the heart of shadow, but now it's whispering about the end, not just of you but of everything. Erebus, the old god of darkness, seems to know something about the apocalypse, and surviving this means keeping your wits when the void starts talking back. The Greeks saw Erebus as more than a place. Hesiod called it a deity born from chaos, older than the Olympians, a force even Hades couldn't tame. You shuffle forward, your footsteps muffled, like the darkness is swallowing sound itself. A quirky tidbit: some Orphic cults believed Erebus held the first truth, a secret about the cosmos' birth and death, guarded by shadows that could drive you mad. You feel it now, the weight of something too big to grasp, like staring into a black hole. Historians still argue whether Erebus was a literal place or a symbol of the unknown. Right now, it feels like both, and it's not thrilled you're here. The walls pulse, and you see shapes in the dark. Faces, maybe, or hands, flickering like a bad signal. The whispers from the prophecy chamber follow you, muttering about a final dusk and a shattered veil. You try to shake it off, muttering, "Great, now I'm in a cosmic horror flick." The joke's weak, but it keeps your heart from racing too fast. You hum that tune from the gates, hoping it's still a charm, but the darkness seems to hum back, mocking you. You notice a faint glow ahead, not light but something colder, like a star that's given up. You reach out, touching the wall, and it's slick, like it's sweating secrets. A carving catches your fingers, a spiral with an eye at its center, pulsing faintly. You pull back, heart thumping because it felt like it saw you. The Greeks believed Erebus was where the gods hid their fears, the truths they didn't want mortals to know. You wonder if this eye is part of that, a clue to the apocalypse you stumbled into last section. You try another joke, bet this place has terrible Yelp reviews. The darkness doesn't laugh, but the whispers sharpen, saying your name, or maybe you're just paranoid. The path slopes upward, and the glow brightens, revealing a ledge overlooking a vast abyss. You see shapes moving below, not souls but something bigger, like shadows of gods or titans stirring in their sleep. The air crackles, and you hear a voice, not the whispers, but a single, clear word, soon. Your stomach twists. You remember Persephone's garden, Hades' stare, and wonder if they know what's coming. The Greeks didn't have a clear end-time story, but they feared a collapse of order, where even the underworld could break. You're starting to think Erebus is ground zero for that. You keep moving, because standing still feels like agreeing to get swallowed. The whispers fade, but the hum stays, vibrating in your bones like a countdown. The path narrows, leading toward a faint red glow, familiar, like Tartarus, but different, angrier. You take a breath, tasting ash and something sharp, like dread, and step forward. You're not sure if you're chasing answers or running from them, but Erebus isn't letting you go without a fight. The eye on the wall lingers in your mind, watching, waiting, as you head toward whatever's next. You edge away from Erebus' suffocating shadows, the eerie hum fading as the path dips back into Tartarus' red glow, where the air burns with sulfur and defiance. The ground is jagged, littered with broken chains, and you hear a low rumble, like the earth's grinding its teeth. You're standing among the titans again, those colossal rebels chained for daring to challenge the gods. Their massive forms loom in the distance, eyes glinting like dying stars, and you feel their rage, heavy as a storm. This place pulses with apocalyptic whispers, tying the Titans' rebellion to a cosmic unraveling, and surviving this means not getting crushed, literally or metaphorically. The Greeks saw the Titans as chaos incarnate, locked away after Zeus' war, as told in Hesiod's Theogony. Their chains, thick as ship masts, clank with every shift, and you spot one, maybe Prometheus, straining against his bonds, his face a mask of eternal spite. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed the Titans' blood, spilled during their defeat, seeped into Tartarus stones, fueling prophecies of a second rebellion. You step over a crack, oozing something red and sticky, hoping it's just a myth. Historians still argue whether the Titans' imprisonment was permanent, or if the Greeks feared their return, sparking the end of the divine order. The air crackles, and you hear a voice, not the whispers, but a deep growl, chanting release like a promise. You mutter, "Yeah, let's not open that door," but the joke feels thin when a chain snaps somewhere in the dark, echoing like a gunshot. You hum that tune from the gates, hoping it's still got some juice, but the rumble drowns it out. You notice carvings on the walls, Titans battling Olympians, their forms cracked like the prophecy slab you saw earlier. The red glow pulses, syncing with your heartbeat, and you wonder if Tartarus is alive, plotting its own comeback. You skirt a massive chain, its links big enough to crush you, and see a Titan's hand twitch, fingers the size of tree trunks. You freeze, heart pounding, and try another joke, bet you guys throw the worst family reunions. No response, but the ground shakes, and you stumble, catching yourself on a rock that's weirdly warm. The Greeks believed Tartarus wasn't just a prison but a force, a place that could unmake the cosmos if unleashed. You're starting to think those apocalyptic whispers about a final dusk and a shattered veil started here, with these chained giants dreaming of revenge. A shadow moves, not a titan but something smaller, darting between chains. You squint, but it's gone, leaving only a faint laugh, like a ghost mocking your nerves. You remember Sisyphus' defiance, Orpheus' loss, and wonder if they're tied to this. The path slopes upward, away from the titans, but their eyes follow you, heavy with secrets. The air grows hotter, and the whispers return, chanting about a breaking, a freeing. You're not sure if it's the titans or something bigger, but the underworld feels like it's holding its breath. You take a step, then another, the ground steadier now but still trembling faintly, like a warning. The red glow dims, replaced by a colder light, and you sense a shift, like you're nearing the heart of this apocalyptic puzzle. You breathe in ash and defiance, feeling the titan's gaze linger, and keep moving. Turning back isn't an option, not with those chains creaking and the whispers growing louder, urging you toward a truth you're not sure you want to face. You climb out of Tartarus' oppressive heat, the titan's growls fading, but their chained fury lingers in your bones. The path opens into a cavern where the air is cold and still, like a tomb sealed too long. In the center, Hades stands alone, not on his throne but leaning against a jagged pillar, his eyes glinting like polished obsidian. He's not the grim CEO you met before. Now he's a god with a secret, his voice low and sharp as he speaks of a cosmos unraveling. The walls pulse with faint cracks, and you feel the underworld trembling, like it's caught in a countdown. Surviving this. Only if you can keep up with a god who's clearly not in the mood for small talk. Hades' role as the underworld's ruler was absolute, as described in Homer's Iliad, but he wasn't just a jailer. He was a keeper of balance, holding the line between life and death. You notice his helm of invisibility tucked under his arm, glinting like it's daring you to try something stupid. A quirky tidbit. Some Greeks believed Hades could hear the cosmos' heartbeat, sensing when its rhythm faltered, like a doctor diagnosing a dying world. His words cut through the silence. The threads are fraying. You're not sure if he's talking to you or the air, but your skin prickles. Historians still argue whether Hades was a passive lord or an active force in cosmic fate. Right now, he feels like the latter. The cavern's walls shimmer with faint glyphs, not the angry carvings of Tartarus but something older, like a warning written in starlight. You catch words, asterisk end asterisk, collapse, void, and your stomach twists. You mutter, sounds like a bad day at the office, hoping to lighten the mood, but Hades' gaze shuts you down. You try a joke. Bet you wish you'd picked a sunnier kingdom. His lips twitch, but it's not amusement, it's pity. You hum that tune from the gates, hoping it's still got some charm, but the glyphs pulse faster, like they're responding to him, not you. You step closer, noticing a crack in the floor, leaking a faint mist that smells of ash and salt. Hades points to it, his voice colder now. The veil thins. You remember the prophecy slab, the Titan's chains, and realize he's talking about the apocalypse. Not just a myth, but something he feels in the underworld's bones. The Greeks believed the gods were tied to the world's order. If it broke, so would they. You wonder if Hades is scared, or if gods even feel fear. His eyes say yes, but his face is stone. A shadow flickers behind him, not Persephone but something formless, like Erebus itself listening in. You try another joke, hope you've got a cosmic repair guy on speed dial. Nothing. The air grows heavier, and the whispers from earlier return, chanting about a breaking, a freeing. You glance at the crack, and it's wider now, mist curling like fingers reaching out. You're tempted to ask Hades what's next, but his silence says you're not ready for the answer. The Greeks didn't fear death as much as disorder. Hades' warning feels like that, a cosmos slipping into chaos. The path behind him beckons, leading to a faint light, not warm but sharp, like a blade. You feel the pull to move on, but Hades' presence holds you, his words echoing. Not all endings are ours to stop. You take a breath, tasting dust and dread, and step toward the light, because staying feels like signing up for whatever's breaking this place apart. Hades watches, his helm glinting, and you wonder if he's warning you or testing you. Either way, the underworld secrets are starting to feel like a weight you can't carry much longer. You step away from Hades' chilling warning, his words about a fraying cosmos echoing as the path slopes into a chamber where the air hums with a strange warmth, like spring trapped in stone. The walls shimmer with faint green light, and you're back in Persephone's domain, or a deeper part of it, where her presence feels heavier, more urgent. Pomegranates hang from twisted vines, their seeds glowing like embers, and you sense her choice, the one that bound her to this place, is tied to the apocalyptic whispers you've been chasing. The ground trembles faintly, as if the underworld knows something's coming, and surviving this means understanding her role before it's too late. Persephone's myth, as told in the Homeric hymn to Demeter, hinges on those seeds. She ate them, willingly or not, and tied her fate to Hades, splitting her life between worlds. You see her now, not the gentle gardener from before but a queen, standing by a pool of water that reflects no stars, her eyes sharp with knowledge you don't have. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks believed her return to the upper world sparked spring, but her descent could unravel it, like a thread pulled too hard. You feel that now, the air pulsing with a tension that's more than seasonal. Historians still argue whether her choice was love, duty, or survival. Her gaze suggests it's all three, and none. The chamber's walls are carved with scenes of blooming fields and crumbling thrones, like a story half told. You step closer, and Persephone speaks, her voice soft but cutting. Every return has a price. You're not sure if she's talking about her or you, but your skin prickles. You mutter, "Hope it's not my frequent flyer miles," trying to keep it light, but her eyes narrow, like she sees through you. You try a joke, "Bet you've got the best dual citizenship deal." Nothing, she's not here for your comedy routine. You hum that tune from the gates, but the vines seem to sway, like they're listening instead. The pool ripples, showing glimpses of a world above. Green hills, then fire, then darkness. You remember Hades warning about a thinning veil and wonder if Persephone's return could trigger it, like a key turning in a lock. The Greeks saw her as a bridge between life and death, but what if that bridge breaks? You notice a pomegranate at your feet, split open, seeds scattered like blood drops. You step back, because eating one is how this all started, and you're not signing up for eternal winters. The air grows warmer, and the whispers return, chanting about a breaking tied to her. You circle the pool, noticing cracks in the floor, like the ones in Hades' cavern, leaking mist that smells of earth and ash. Persephone watches, her fingers brushing a vine, and you feel judged, not like Minos, but like she's weighing your place in this unraveling story. You try another joke. "Do you ever just want a snow day?" Her lips twitch, but it's not a smile. It's pity, or maybe warning. The Greeks believed her dual life kept the world spinning, but the cracks suggest it's faltering. You wonder if she knows how to stop it, or if she's part of it. The path leads out, toward a colder light, and you feel her gaze follow you, heavy as the underworld itself. The whispers grow louder, mixing her name with words like end and choice. You take a breath, tasting flowers and dust, and step forward, because lingering feels like tempting fate. Persephone's silence lingers too, a reminder that her story isn't just about seasons. It's about a balance that's starting to tip, and you're caught in the middle of whatever comes next. You step away from Persephone's piercing gaze, the warmth of her chamber fading as the path plunges into a cavern where the air crackles with unrest. The walls are rough, scarred with claw marks and smeared with ash, and you hear a low murmur, not the whispers of prophecy, but the grumbling of souls, restless and angry. These are the shades of Asphodel, the lost and forgotten, but they're not drifting aimlessly now. They're gathering, their forms flickering like static, eyes glinting with defiance. You've stumbled into a rebellion of the dead, a uprising against their eternal fate, and the underworld feels like it's fraying at the edges. Surviving this. Only if you can avoid getting swept up in their riot. The Greeks believed most souls ended up in Asphodel, as Plato described, stuck in a gray limbo for those neither heroic nor damned. But these shades aren't content anymore. They're chanting, their voices a low roar about freedom, about breaking the gates. A quirky tidbit. Some Greek mystics claimed restless souls could disrupt the underworld's order, their collective anger strong enough to shake Hades' throne. You see it now, a crowd of shades pushing against an invisible barrier, their hands leaving smudges of light on the air. Historians still argue whether such rebellions were possible or just stories to scare mortals into good behavior. Right now, it feels all too real. The cavern shakes, and you duck as a rock falls, narrowly missing your head. You mutter, "Great, ghost riots, nobody warned me about this." The shades don't notice you, too focused on their chant, something about "no more chains" and "sky again." You hum that tune from the gates, hoping it calms the vibe, but it's drowned out by their fury. You spot a leader, a shade sharper than the rest, a warrior maybe, rallying the others with a spear that's more memory than metal. You try a joke. "What, no protest signs?" No one laughs, but the air grows hotter, like their anger's fueling a fire. You skirt the crowd, keeping to the shadows, and notice cracks in the walls, like the ones in Hades' cavern, leaking mist that smells of ash and rebellion. The Greeks feared disorder above all, believing even the dead had to follow rules, or the cosmos could unravel. You wonder if this is what Hades meant by a fraying world, these souls rejecting their fate. A shade brushes past, its touch cold as Lethe's water, and you shiver, feeling its desperation. You try another joke. "Bet you guys just want a coffee break." Nothing. Their eyes are fixed on a distant glow, maybe the gates, maybe Elysium. The path narrows, leading away from the mob, but their chants follow, shaking the ground. You see a figure in the distance, not a shade but something solid, watching the chaos. Persephone. Hades. You can't tell, but it feels like they're letting this happen, or maybe they can't stop it. The air pulses, and the whispers from earlier mix with the chants, muttering about a breaking tide to the soul's revolt. You take a breath, tasting dust and defiance, and keep moving, because joining the riot feels like signing up for a fight you can't win. The cavern opens into a tunnel, the glow ahead sharper now, like a warning. The shades' voices fade, but the ground still trembles, and you feel the underworld's balance tipping, like a scale about to snap. You remember Sisyphus' endless push, the Titan's chains, and wonder if this rebellion is the spark that sets it all ablaze. The path slopes upward, and you step toward the light, heart pounding, because whatever's next feels like the edge of something unstoppable. You hurry from the rebellious shades, their chants fading into a low rumble as the tunnel tightens, the air growing sharp with a scent of ash and something electric, like a storm trapped underground. The walls glow with a sickly light, etched with omens, cracked thrones, rivers boiling, a sky torn open. You're stumbling into the final signs of the apocalypse, the underworld's last warnings before everything unravels. The ground trembles, not from the shades but from something deeper, like the cosmos itself is shuddering. Surviving this means keeping your head when the world feels like it's about to crack. Good luck with that. The Greeks didn't have a neat doomsday story, but texts like the Orphic hymns hinted at a collapse where even Hades' realm could fall, as if the gods' order wasn't permanent. You spot a stone altar ahead, its surface carved with a map of rivers, Styx, Lethe, Acheron, drying to dust. A quirky tidbit. Some Greeks believed the underworld's rivers were tied to the cosmos' lifeblood. If they stopped flowing, everything would. You touch the altar, and it's cold, but the carvings pulse, like they're alive. Historians still argue whether these omens were warnings or just poetic fears of chaos. Right now, they feel like headlines from tomorrow. The air crackles, and you hear a sound like glass breaking, sharp and final. You mutter, hope that's not the warranty on reality. But the joke falls flat when a crack splits the altar, leaking mist that burns your eyes. You hum that tune from the gates, desperate for calm, but the omens glow brighter, showing a gate, maybe Hades, shattered. You see shadows moving, not shades but something bigger, like the Titans stirring or Erebus itself waking up. You try a joke, bet this apocalypse could use better lighting. Nothing, the air just grows heavier, pressing your chest like a warning. You step back, noticing the walls now weep a black liquid, like the Styx itself is bleeding. The Greeks believed the underworld was a foundation. If it broke, the world above would follow. You remember Hades' words about a fraying cosmos, Persephone's choice, the Shades' rebellion, all pieces of this puzzle. The ground shakes again, and you see a vision in the mist. Cerberus howling, chains snapping, souls pouring through broken gates. It's not just a sign, it's a promise, and you're standing at ground zero. You try another joke, hope there's an escape hatch somewhere. The silence answers, cold and final. The path slopes upward, leading to a faint light, not warm but blinding, like truth you can't unsee. The whispers are louder now, chanting end and fall, mixing with the Shades' rebellion and Hades' warning. You feel like you're carrying every story you've seen, Sisyphus' rock, Orpheus' song, the Titan's chains, and they're all pointing to this moment. The air tastes of ash and metal, and you wonder if this is what the Greeks feared, not death, but dissolution. The light grows closer, and you sense a choice coming, one you can't dodge. You take a breath, steadying yourself, and step toward the light, the omens glow burning behind your eyes. The underworld feels alive, its pulse racing, and you're not sure if you're a witness or a pawn. The cracks widen, the whispers roar, and you know whatever's next is the final piece of this apocalyptic puzzle. You keep moving, because turning back means facing a world that's already starting to break. You step into the blinding light, the omen's warning still burning in your mind, and find yourself on a precipice overlooking the underworld's heart, a swirling vortex where rivers converge, Styx's black waves crashing against Lethe's silver. The air crackles with finality, and the ground trembles, as if the cosmos is taking its last breath. You're at the edge of everything, facing a choice. Flee this unraveling realm or join its chaos, becoming part of the underworld forever. The whispers roar now, chanting choose, break, stay, and you feel the weight of every step you've taken. Cerberus' growl, Persephone's gaze, Hades' warning. Surviving this? Maybe, but only if you can decide before the world does it for you. The Greeks believed the underworld was eternal, yet their myths, like those in the Orphic texts, hinted at a breaking point, a moment when even Hades' gates could fall. You see it now, cracks spiderwebbing across the vortex, light leaking through like a sky tearing open. A quirky tidbit: some Greeks thought mortals could tip the balance, their choices echoing into the divine order or disorder. You feel that now, standing here, as if your next step could spark the end or hold it back. Historians still argue whether mortals had such power or were just pawns in the gods' game. Your racing heart suggests the former. The vortex pulses, and you see flashes, Elysium's glow fading, Tartarus chains snapping, shades pouring toward the gates. You mutter, great, I'm the tiebreaker in a cosmic divorce. But the joke feels hollow when the ground lurches, nearly tossing you into the abyss. You hum that tune from the gates, clinging to its familiarity, but the vortex drowns it out, its roar like 1,000 voices demanding your choice. You try a joke, bet there's no exit sign down here. Nothing, the air just tightens, like it's waiting for you to move. You glance back, half expecting Hades or Persephone, but it's just you and the vortex, its pull like a tide you can't fight. The Greeks saw choice as a mortal's power, even in the face of gods. Orpheus chose to look back, Sisyphus chose to cheat death. Now it's your turn. You could leap into the vortex, joining the chaos, or run, hoping the gates still stand. The whispers scream now, and you feel the underworld's pulse faltering, like a heart about to stop. You try one last joke, hope this comes with a return policy. The silence is deafening, and you know it's time. You take a step, not sure if it's toward freedom or fate, and the vortex flares, light and shadow colliding. The air tastes of ash and memory, and you feel every story. Charon's boat, the Titan's rage, the Shades' rebellion, converging in this moment. You choose, and the world shifts, but the story slows here, softening like a tide pulling back. The vortex fades, and you're back on solid ground, the air gentle now, like a breeze carrying you home. The underworld's roar softens to a hum, the cracks sealing as the light dims to a warm glow. You feel the weight lift, the whispers quieting, replaced by a calm that wraps you like a blanket. The rivers flow gently again, Styx and Lethe murmuring secrets you no longer need to hear. You're safe now, your choice made, though its shape blurs, like a dream slipping away. The underworld retreats, its gates distant, and you feel your breath slow, your eyes heavy. The world above waits, soft and familiar, calling you back to rest. Let the shadows fade, let the omens dissolve, and drift into sleep, carried by the hum of a story now complete.